MVP right now, Pat Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I mean, it's pretty tough. I think people who argue for both sides definitely have firm points on both ends of the aisle. Right now, I'm going to have to lean towards Rodgers. He's doing more with less, in my opinion. And I think Errol mentioned it quickly. He's a fairly new coach here. They went 13-3 last year. Now the adversity's thrown in where they drafted quarterback. And Devontae Adams has been good. Aaron Jones has been good. But after that, I mean, who's his number two? Valdez-Scantling. Tommy in the tight ends has been good. But, I mean, that's Aaron Rodgers making these guys good. So, I mean, they're playing in an NFC that could be wide open. But overall, I mean, what does he have right now? Is it 40 touchdowns?
He has 40 touchdowns, which is leading the league. But Mahomes is leading the league in categories too. You can't always use the team argument of who's around you, because we've seen what Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were before Mahomes arrived. They were good. Their numbers were nowhere near what they are now. And if you're watching the games this year, a lot of their targets and a lot of why their numbers are through the roof, it's because Mahomes is extending plays like nobody else. He's running through his life every single play. If you look at his touchdowns, it's never him chilling in the pocket, protected. It's him running around, making off-balance throws. The way that dude can deliver a football on any given moment is different. He's
100%.
Aaron Rodgers, the way he could throw that back shoulder, which is basically unguardable, his ball placement is great. Mahomes has a stronger arm and extends plays better. That's the bottom line for me. And the offensive line is terrible.
I mean, Rodgers has and all in all, Rodgers has made a career of extending plays until Patrick Mahomes came along. And I think it's a little early if we want to say, okay, he's way better at extending plays than Rodgers. I think he is, but I think it's close. Aaron Rodgers was the best all-around quarterback I've seen, and he still is to this point. But Patrick Mahomes is the second best thing since him, in my opinion. And, obviously he won the MVP. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback. But who's the most valuable player in the league? It's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this Chiefs team is so superpowered. There is no way. The Saints have the number one defense in football. Did anybody have a doubt that team was getting stopped? Who are they going to guard? You're going to put Lattimore on Hill. Lattimore's a nice corner, but he can't run with Hill deep. Who are you going to put on Kelce? Like, you're going to put linebackers on Travis Kelce, safeties, dime backs, nickel backs. Who are you putting on Kelce? You're not guarding the both of them. And line or no line, Pat Mahomes can extend plays, which is good. I'm not knocking Mahomes. He's clear. I mean, it's a two-man race right now. So So shout out to him. But he got it last year. They're the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. But in terms of numbers and all the perspectives, I'm about to have the numbers in front of me. I'm sure you know them anyway. But Rodgers has him a good amount of the categories, and the touchdowns is big to me. From week 7 to 14, I just looked this up this morning. So excluding the game, I guess this hurts Rodgers and Mahomes both equally. Excluding the games from this weekend, from week 7 to 14, Aaron Rodgers threw 25 touchdown passes in the span of 7 games, which right there, that was his time frame where he solidified the MVP candidacy for him. Not only candidacy, but to become the favorite. He's had one bad game all year. Mahomes has had 2, and in my opinion. Last week against Miami, he was not good. He threw 3 interceptions in, was it the first quarter or the first half?
It was the 2 interceptions in the first quarter on back-to-back possessions. And after that, he was flawless the rest of the game.
That's fine, but nonetheless, we are talking about MVP race. Interceptions is what cost. I mean, Russell Wilson was the favorite for a while there. That's what cost him the MVP race was, his interceptions. Now he's got 13. He's completely out of it. Pat Mahomes, granted, he's only had 1 or 2 bad games, which is phenomenal if you want to be a winning quarterback in the league. I mean, they could easily win the Super Bowl. He's still 1 or 2, depending on where you rank him in the MVP race. It's phenomenal. But at some point, these games are going to cost you. Aaron Rodgers had 1 bad game all year, and that was against the Buccaneers.
A brutal game.
Brutal nonetheless.
To wrap up this segment, do you think that team record is going to play a big part in the decision, whether on your opinion, but do you think the Chiefs having a better record, which they'll probably finish 15-1, the Packers could finish at best 13-3? Is that going to dictate who actually is going to get the award?
No, only because both these teams have a shot. I mean, if they're both the number 1 seed, the record's going to be moot. Whether Rodgers is the 2, I don't think he's ever going to go slide down to the 3. It's a race between the Saints and him, Packers for 1 and 2. So I don't think it's going to play much of a difference as the numbers right now.
Earl, what do you think? Do you think that the team record is going to affect who actually wins the award?
Hold on one second, guys. I'm going all crazy over here. My phone keeps going crazy over here. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Do you think that the better record, that the Chiefs have the better record, could that ultimately get Mahomes over the hump to actually win the award?
No, I don't. I think when you look at the league and the way the NFL chooses an MVP, most valuable player is really numbers. Now, I think the fact that the Packers are in the NFC and that the AFC, even though it's very top heavy with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City's schedule was not as difficult as the Green Bay Packers this year. The Green Bay Packers schedule was much harder. I think the fact that Aaron Rodgers, the lack of talent around him, and I could say this over and over again, Aaron Rodgers has two great offensive players, and the rest of his team, if you look at any of the players that he has on wide receivers to even backup running backs, if they played on any other team, they'd be either second to third tier type of players. So Aaron Rodgers makes everybody, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes doesn't make everybody around him better. He solidifies what the Kansas City Chiefs are, but Aaron Rodgers is on a whole nother level.
Breaking up, I think.
Done so well with Seattle, fantastic what he's done with Seattle is much more impressive than what Patrick Mahomes has. Pro Bowl player, one of the best running backs in the league. They have that's the difference between Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson. I'll even go upon saying that if Russell Wilson didn't play as bad as he did against the Giants, I'd take Russell Wilson over Patrick Mahomes.
The Bills game ended that, though.
Yeah, Russell Wilson had too many stretches of too many turnovers, too many bad losses.
I think the game that really destructed Russell Wilson was the Giant game. He looked terrible with the Giants. Terrible.
The icing on the cake. Why he could. That was literally his last hurrah of any. But I feel like it's almost like in NBA too. People take so high into account your team record. I feel like a 15-1 record with Mahomes' numbers, which are close to flawless. Rodgers and Mahomes have pretty close to a flawless season. A 15-1 record, the favorites to repeat as Super Bowl champions. I feel like there's almost a voter bias with the great record, which we've seen in the past. If you have the best record in the NFL, you're more likely to get it, even though if his numbers are slightly behind. Which in reality, Rodgers has some stats better than Mahomes, but it's vice versa too. That's why I think Mahomes will get it. And it's really just like it's an eye test the way he can extend plays. When plays break down and you think it's over, he finds a way. He finds a way to make a play.
And Aaron Rodgers don't do that? Aaron Rodgers don't do that? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the king of doing that. He's been doing that for years. When Aaron Rodgers came into the league, everybody's trying to mimic Aaron Rodgers. The mobile quarterbacks were all mimicked behind what Aaron Rodgers has done in the league as significantly as he's done it for the last 10 years. So the mobile quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. There is no more pocket present quarterbacks. You have to be both. And one of the main reasons why you need to be both is the success of what Aaron Rodgers has done. Aaron Rodgers has been fantastic. This year, you can say whatever you want. If he stays healthy, to me, he's the best quarterback in the league. And I don't care what anybody says about Patrick Mahomes. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Look at what Patrick Mahomes is. Patrick Mahomes is a sensational quarterback. He's done so many great things in such a short time. Aaron Rodgers has been doing it consistently for 10 years, even with his injuries. So I'm telling you right now, the best quarterback still in the NFL when healthy is Aaron Rodgers.
That's tough for me to agree on, considering what Mahomes has done. It's almost been this 3-year stretch is a stretch that we've never seen in the history of the league. He's going to go for 5,000 yards again. He's going to be over 40 touchdowns, a similar season to what he's had in 2018 with less turnovers, with the best record in the league. Right there may get Mahomes his second MVP in 3 years. But I want to flip the script to another topic right now. Who has the best chance to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC? The Bills or the Titans? Earl, we'll start with you.
You want to go first? You can go first.
No, go ahead, man. No, go on. It's up to you guys.
The Bills or the Titans? Josh Allen has looked sensational the last couple of weeks. Ever since his grandmother died, he's come. He had his best game of his NFL career the night before his grandmother died. He played in the game. He had 5 touchdowns, 400 yards. Was sensational. His quarterback rating was over 100. You're looking at a development of a superstar type of quarterback. He was and has been the best quarterback in the second half, in my eyes, in the season. The thing is with Buffalo, as good as Buffalo is still playing in a division with the New York Jets. And I'm a Jet fan, and I'll be the first person to say that. You're in the worst division, still one of the worst top 2 divisions in football. Yes, Miami has been great. Look at the Patriots this year. They've been absolutely horrendous. Cam Newton has been a shell of himself ever since he hurt his shoulder and he had that shoulder surgery. So I love what I see with Buffalo, but that's not the team that really stands out that could kind of dethrone them. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. I'm looking at teams like that really stand out to me. Everybody keeps saying Tennessee. Tennessee has a good running game. Absolutely. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. I don't trust him in a big game. Last year, if you do his average of yards per throw in each game, he was averaging 5-6 yards per throw. His first 2 games in the playoffs, he averaged 70-something yards in the game. Yeah. You can't win like that. You can't. I don't care if you have a talented running game. And by the way, Tennessee's defense is not as talented as it was last year. That's a huge problem going into the playoffs. They've had deficiencies in their secondary. You cannot go into the playoffs in the AFC with teams like the Colts, teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers that have weapons all over the field that can crush you like a bug. The team that I think Kansas City has to worry about is the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though the running game is not up to par. And James Conner has not been healthy all year. Their offensive line is still a talented offensive line, one of the top 5 offensive lines in football. Their defensive line, if you look at where they're ranked, defensive as far as running against them and even catching the ball against them after the tackle, after the first hit. They're a sensational defensive team. TJ Watt is becoming a superstar linebacker. You're seeing what this team could do. And the weapons that they have, Claypool, Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster. They've got weapons all over the field, and they can dominate you in a game. And everybody keeps talking about Kansas City, how great Kansas City's deficiencies defensively have shown in certain games against good offensive teams. So I think it's going to be a huge problem if they fall behind. Kansas City is known to stay ahead in games. If they fall behind against a good defensive team that can keep them into check and keep them from just kicking field goals, Kansas City is going to have a problem in the playoffs. So the team to watch, in my eyes, in the playoffs right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers. As crazy as it sounds, because I thought Pittsburgh wasn't going to make the playoffs this year. I really didn't think Pittsburgh was going to make the playoffs this year. And then all of a sudden, even though the last 2 games have been horrendous, they haven't looked as good as you expect them to, but they're a team to be reckoned with. They're talented. They have a lot of depth on both sides of the ball. So my team is not Tennessee. It's not Buffalo. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Declan?
Yeah, well, a lot there to get to. But yeah, I mean, if we're going to break down 3 of those teams, I think those are 3 fair teams to talk about in terms of the Chiefs. I'll start with the Titans. I'm going to counter a little bit. I agree with you that I don't think the Titans are the ones to take down the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to make a deep run this year. But I believe them to an extent, and it's got nothing to do with anything offensively. Defensively, they're a worse defense than last year that took them to the AFC Championship. King Henry's been really good. Ryan Tannehill, I've been trusting a lot more. I mean, his last couple performances, I forget what he had yesterday. He had multiple scores. Then he had 2 rushing touchdowns and either 2 or 3 passing touchdowns. And I want to say like 315. And he was really good yesterday. And overall, he's been playing good against good teams. They beat the Bills. He wasn't horrible against the Steelers. They lost by a field goal on Gostkowski. I think it was like a chip shot they lost on. He's been playing good against good teams, and he's really like last year was him kind of, I don't want to say Bradying Marcus Mariota, but he took his job right out from underneath him. And now this year, he's solidifying his spot. Like at the end of the year, he might actually be a top 10, top 15 quarterback. I don't think it's a stretch. I think it's a given to call him top 15. I don't even think it's a huge stretch to call him top 10. I probably have him around 12 right now. In terms of the Titans, I don't think they're deep enough defensively to make a run, but they got some weapons on the offensive side of the ball. A.J. Brown has been good all year. Corey Davis the past couple games has really been putting in work, getting multiple scores. So I'm a believer in them from the offensive standpoint. As far as the Steelers go, they have a decent line, but their defense is very injured. Bud Dupree and Devin Bush both tore their ACL and are out for the year. TJ Watt's been, trying to solidify a spot for Defensive Player of the Year, which good for him. He's been amazing. But that defense is battered a little bit. Joe Hayden with a concussion that kind of cost them their game against Washington. And then their running game is not that good. Connor's been hurt, yes, but Snell, Samuels haven't been able to get going. Big Ben, I think on 3rd and 1, they went for it. 3rd and 1, then 4th and 1, they threw a deep pass. They threw a quick out and a deep pass against Washington. Big Ben's been audible and out of runs. So I think that'll be a little bit of an issue because, not that you'll see a rift, but you're going to see a creative differences, per se, from Roethlisberger and Tomlin moving forward. And then lastly, I'll get to the Bills. And the Bills, I've been saying this since roughly week 4. I know I had Allen in the MVP race before the season. But the Bills have been performing really well. Their defense is not great. But after looking yesterday, the Saints have the best defense in the NFC. I think they're number 2, number 3 in the league behind the Steelers and somebody else. It's going to be entirely impossible to stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And the only way I feel like you can stop them is you got to try to score with them and hope you get some, I don't want to say lucky plays. You got to hope you get some defensive stops and hopefully some turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. But you're going to have to run with them. And I personally think that the only team in the AFC that can score with them and that can run with them at a high level would be the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has played like an MVP candidate for 2/3 of the season. He's not going to win the MVP. He probably won't even finish in the top 5. He might finish 5th, but regardless, like this idea, I personally think right now he's a top 5 quarterback in my eyes. I've been saying that for a long time. I've had debates in the sports headless about it for a long time.
Not yet. Not yet. He's almost.
All right, who do we have in front of him? Who do we have in front of him now? I'm fine with top 10. Honestly,
He's top 10. I would say Josh Allen. I put him at 8 or 9. That's where Josh Allen is right now. Wow. He's moving. He's moving up. He's moving up. He's had a sensational year.
Right. Yes. Who do we have in front of him now?
If I had it on paper right now, I'd go through it. Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Aaron Rodgers is up there. Russell Wilson's up there. Lamar Jackson's had a bad, he has a bad second half of the season, but Lamar Jackson, say whatever you want, he was the MVP of the league last year. So you can't really shoot him down because of his awful second half this year. So Lamar Jackson's shooting up there.
Yeah, not necessarily shooting him down as much as, the NFL being a what have you done for me lately league. Carson Wentz took that team to the playoffs last year, and now he's on the bench. So, Lamar Jackson, inconsistent passing game is reasons the Ravens are 8 seed right now and might not make the playoffs. So that's where I give Josh Allen an edge.
Right now. They're not even in as we speak today. Ravens aren't in.
That's why I said he's the eighth seed on the way out. Yeah, the 8
well,
seed
they've been fighting.
They're in the hunt
they've been fighting. They've been fighting a lot of injuries too, the Ravens. So you can't really attack that. But here's the thing: before we get off this topic, and I'm sorry, I want you to finish up with what you were saying. No, who would you trust in that big game? The Ben Roethlisberger? Are you going to trust Ryan Tannehill? Or are you going to trust Buffalo Bills Josh Allen?
Well,
the guy that I would trust is the guy that's won 2 Super Bowls.
It's none of them. There's no team that's dethroning the Chiefs. Declan nailed it on the head. There's one way to beat the Chiefs, and it's probably their best way of winning. Beat them in a shootout, and none of these teams are going to beat them in a shootout. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not proven anything to me. I always say in a sport like the NFL and the MLB, the best team doesn't always win like basketball. When you're overly powered in basketball and there's just too much talent on one team, you're usually going to win. That's not necessarily the same in the NFL and MLB. How do teams create upsets? Get hot at the right time. The Steelers started 11-0 with their cupcake schedule, had some wins against bad teams. They sneaked out, and now they just dropped 2 in a row. The one to Washington, they had a 2-score lead, blew that lead. Come back Sunday night, a statement game on primetime. You look awful against the Bills. Once Ben Roethlisberger threw a pick 6 right before the half, he folded, and the rest of the team went right with him. The running game for the Steelers went straight to the toilet. And the more you're going to rely on Ben Roethlisberger to make plays and ask him to do more, that's where the Steelers start struggling more. Roethlisberger literally looks like he's the Statue of Liberty standing in that pocket. It looks like he can't move, to be completely honest with you. That's number one with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Buffalo Bills, their defense is not as great as everyone makes it seem. They have a 17th ranked defense. They're good. They've shown flashes. And again, like Earl said, 2 of those games were against the Jets, which really shouldn't count. They allowed 4 second-half yards against the Jets the second time they played them. That doesn't really say much going against what team that was. And then the offensive side, Josh Allen, he's had a good season. I've been a big hater of him early in the year, but he's proven me wrong the second half of the season. Does he have any playoff experience? No. They were up 16-0 against the Texans last year. Blew that game, I believe, in overtime, if I remember correctly. But if I had to give a team a slight chance to do it, which I wouldn't really give them much of a chance, is the Tennessee Titans. Why the Titans? Yes, we remember the AFC Championship game. They played the Chiefs, and they were actually up 10 points against the Chiefs. The thing is, the Chiefs' run defense is god-awful. They can't stop anything in terms of the run. The Titans, on the other hand, have the best running back in the NFL by a wide margin. Like, it's Derrick Henry, and it's everybody else, and there's nobody particularly averaging, he's for the season just under 1,700 yards. He really might even go for 2,000 the way he's been running the football with 15 touchdowns. He sets the tone for that entire offense. Earl mentioned I don't trust Tannehill in the big game. But teams know Derrick Henry's getting the ball, and they just do nothing about it. It's not affecting anybody in the slightest bit. If the Titans could get up early against a team like the Chiefs, and Derrick Henry is running wild, it opens up Tannehill's game. Tannehill's had a decent year. I think 35 touchdowns, 3,500 yards for 31 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's had a good season.
It's a very good year.
A lot of that is Derrick Henry, though, making up that entire offense. The way they could run the football would be the only slight chance I would give them to beat the Chiefs, even though the Titans' defense is not what people try to make it to be. And it's ultimately not that good. I am taking the greatest quarterback in the game in Patrick Mahomes to repeat as Super Bowl champions. I don't think there's a team who really could compete with them, especially how hot they're playing right now.
I disagree. I don't think Kansas. There's a lot of teams in the NFC that can knock off Kansas City. There are a lot of teams. I do believe the Green Bay Packers could have a shootout with them, absolutely offensively. I worry about Green Bay, but again, the playoffs are different. We don't know. Every year, a hot quarterback goes into the playoffs. A hot team, a hot defensive team plays well in the playoffs and goes all the way to the Super Bowl. You know why Kansas City won the Super Bowl last year? It's because of Kyle Shanahan's stupid play calling with 6 minutes left of the game. Kyle Shanahan is the worst play caller at the end of the game. You can ask the Atlanta Falcons against the Patriots in the fourth quarter. Okay? Stop running the ball.
They still do it.
You stopped running the ball the last 6-7 minutes of the game. You were up by 10 points. Made no sense. So, again, Kansas City wasn't even the best team in the Super Bowl. They should have lost that Super Bowl. The reason why they won was the great and utter stupid Kyle Shanahan. So that's the way I argue it, and that's the way I'm going to argue it. I don't think Kansas City's as good as everybody thinks they are because Andy Reid, and I love Andy. He coached my favorite quarterback of all time in Donovan McNabb. Growing up, I was a Jet fan, and my second favorite team was Donovan McNabb and the Philadelphia Eagles. Not because it was green, not because everybody's, they're green. That's not why I liked Philadelphia. Donovan McNabb. And Andy Reid couldn't get over the hump with some great quarterbacks over the years. He finally did it with Patrick Mahomes. But it also had a lot to do with, I guess you could say, a hand-me-down, what do they call it? A freebie on Kyle Shanahan, who's a complete moron. Everybody says he's an offensive genius. What kind of offensive genius who had the best running game, all-around running game in football, stopped to run the ball? It's 7 minutes left when you're up by 10 points. He did the same thing with the Atlanta Falcons with Coleman and Freeman when you were up by, 17 points?
They had that Super Bowl locked in after Julio Jones made that spectacular catch. All they had to do is run the ball a few times, kick a field goal, but Matt Ryan decided to take a 15-yard sack. That was a turning point in that game.
Shanahan's a moron. Moron.
That was the turning point in the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl. The fact that Matt Ryan took a 15-yard sack, when all you had to do was stay right where you are and kick a field goal, and the game would have been out of reach. That was the turning point in the game. After Julio made one of the best catches I've ever seen. But still, in terms of the AFC, no team could go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. I get we see upsets. How could you say that the Steelers could be give the best chance to upset the Chiefs when they're cold right now? This is crucial time. I always look at the last 4 weeks of the NFL season as your best chance to get hot. A hot team in the NFL and especially in MLB, that's the team I want to worry about. Who are the
Falco? 2 years ago, who won the Super Bowl? Who won the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
And
what happened?
The Patriots. The
2
Patriots.
years ago.
Patriots.
2 years ago? It was the Patriots. Okay, what did the Patriots do the last 2 games of the season?
I don't remember.
They didn't play well. They went into the playoffs cold. And then all of a sudden, they started running the ball.
They still had the bye.
Yeah, they did. But that's another thing. That was an advantage for the Patriots year in and year out. Tom Brady's not going to have that advantage this year in the NFC.
Right.
And that's why Tampa's going to get eliminated either in the first or second round. I'm predicting an upset. They're getting knocked out in the first round. I don't think Tampa's as good and as talented as everybody thought they were. But I will say this. When the Patriots made the playoffs last year, they were cold.
And what happened? They lost. That's where they went cold. They lost. They had that brutal loss against the Dolphins week 17, and they go into wild card week and they got blanked in the second half. That's a cold team getting eliminated earlier than we thought.
I've seen a lot of cold teams get into the playoffs and just right after the first game, running or just defensively, or the quarterback just throws an unbelievable look at Flacco. Remember when Flacco did it with the Ravens?
Oh, right.
In the last 2 games of the season, with Lewis hurting his arm, and they didn't even know if he was going to play in the playoffs. That team was completely deficient or defensive. They don't know how the defense was going to hold up. All of a sudden, Flacco went on his tear in the playoffs and went all the way through to the Super Bowl and had one of the best runs we've ever seen a quarterback have. It all depends on the team. I trust Ben Roethlisberger over all these guys because he's done it before. He's done it. And the younger players, you know and I know, when it comes to a young player, they're going to try to go out and show them that they're a superstar. There's no pressure on the Pittsburgh Steelers like everybody thinks, because nobody thought Pittsburgh would be where they are today as we speak. So there's nothing that they have to worry about. Tomlin's had one of his best coaching years. I just think when you look at everything that they have done this year and the way they've done it with class, no talking anymore, going out and putting their hearts on the line, they didn't look good against the Washington football team. Look, there was a lot of teams the last couple of weeks haven't looked good against Washington because their defense is starting to wake up. So, to me,
you talk about doing it with class, but Juju Smith-Schuster is making TikToks before and after game. He's dancing on
fuels that sound.
I mean, he could dance. I mean, I respect it, but if you want to say doing it with class, not talking and pumping out your chest, I mean, what do you call that then? The dude's making TikToks before games.
Oh, it's called having fun. You're a football player.
Playful tweets.
I mean, it's fun. I watch it.
Listen, I can retweet anything you want. And if you go to my Twitter, I've got 1,300 people that follow me, and I don't even realize because I don't tweet much. I got to start doing that. I don't know how I have so many people following me right now. But nevertheless, you could tweet or not tweet. The facts are when you go out there, you play the game. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. Now, do I think, jumping on TikTok and dancing around is something that you could say that is professional? No, it's not. But he's not on the field dancing around. He's not going to the camera like Terrell Owens did over the years and writing and signing his autograph. I mean, he's going out there. He's playing hard. These teams are playing hard. There's nothing I could say about Tennessee, Pittsburgh, or even Buffalo right now. All 3 teams could dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm going to tell you this right now, and I predicted this. Kansas City will not be representing the AFC this year going into the Super Bowl. I said that in the beginning of the season, and I'm going to say it again. I don't trust their defense. And Spagnuolo, as good as he was last year defensively, their defense this year has shown deficiencies. And I'm telling you, when you play in a playoff game, when you can run the ball, like you said, Tennessee, which Pittsburgh doesn't do well, or you can throw as well as Kansas City can, a.k.a. the Pittsburgh Steelers that have thrown the ball very, very well. They got 4 massive wide receivers that could spread the defense out and spread Kansas City's defense out in the secondary. Yes, I think they can be dethroned. And yes, I believe they will be dethroned.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot to talk about.
Speaking of the Steelers, what about the sleeper team, the Cleveland Browns? What's the ceiling for the Cleveland Browns?
I mean, what I would say the ceiling is for the Browns right now. I mean, they are definitely contenders. They're 10-4, their first 10-win season since Godzilla was a prince. I mean,
since the bubonic plague pandemic.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been a long time. But Baker Mayfield, I mean, their key, personally, I mean, first off, is just to get their running game going. And then, going off the running game between Chubb and Hunt, and even Johnson looked good last night in the late minutes of that game is just to see how Baker Mayfield can perform off the play action. I mean, you saw it last night against the Giants defense, which is top 10, ninth ranked in the league. I mean, he was hitting the play action. He was hitting Higgins, Landry's, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like all these guys he was hitting on play action. I mean, granted, the secondary was weak last night with the absence of Bradbury, but he's hitting all these guys, so that's their ceiling. I don't know how far they can go. Personally, I kind of think that if they don't win I see them winning a maximum of one playoff game. I don't think that they're going to go that far, coming out of the wild card spot. But it's all about Baker Mayfield's confidence. Sometimes his confidence will border on cockiness and it doesn't work out, or it'll border on skepticism and mistrust in himself, and not relying on himself and not counting on himself in the big moments. He's had a stretch of games where 3 in a row he threw no touchdowns.
I want to respond to that about the Browns. I made a bold prediction a few weeks ago. I said not one AFC North team will win a playoff game, that being the Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens. But to talk on the Browns, I thought about this a couple weeks ago. Hear me out. This Cleveland Browns team reminds me a little bit of the 2010 Jets. I think there's some similarities, not the same. The word same means identical. I am not trying to say they are the same because they are not. Here's what I mean. I feel the whole team around the quarterback is loaded to different extents. In terms of the run game, this Browns team is a better run game than that 2010 Jets did. Nick Chubb has 930 yards on the season and 10 touchdowns in 10 games. He's not even playing every game. And then Kareem Hunt, he has just under 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. They actually may have 2 guys go over 1,000 yards each, which again plays a huge part in the quarterback play. The offensive line, they dramatically improved that since they went 0-16 in 2017. Their defense, on the other hand, there's a lot of talented names, but they're still not performing like I think they should be expected to. The Jets in 2010 had a top 3 defense. I believe the Browns right now are in the middle of the pack. But it's still the reason why I say that.
No, I mean I'm going to have to disagree only
because I think Baker Mayfield is the liability on this team. I'm going to be completely honest. His numbers look pretty solid. I think he's a little bit more of an explosive version of Mark Sanchez early in his career, who turns the ball over a similar amount of times. Baker Mayfield's better than Mark Sanchez was, but Baker Mayfield, with the talent around him, being a number 1 overall pick, should be in the MVP conversation. There's no reason why he's not, given how much talent is on that team. That's why I call Baker a bust, honestly. Even though his numbers don't look like he's a bust, I call him a bust because he should be better than what is given around him. Out of every quarterback in that 2018 draft class, none of them have talent surrounding him like a Baker Mayfield does. I don't trust him in the playoffs. He's a head case. Some days he's that dude. He's got that fire underneath him. And other days he's a turnover machine, inaccurate with the football, looks hesitant to make decisions. He has 13 turnovers this year, which is just about 1 a game. I don't think that's going to get it done in a playoff game. They have no experience. They're a dysfunctional franchise, just like the Jets. For them to get out of the AFC, which I keep hearing noise about, I can't see that. I just feel like there's some similarities with that 2010 Jets team where people think, oh, is this really like the best team in the AFC? Could they actually win a Super Bowl? Not yet, at best. Earl, Jets fan.
Can I counter that quickly?
Yeah. Go.
So pretty much, I'm going to have to disagree only because the Browns defense right now is ranked 23rd in the NFL. So I kind of don't see the similarities, to be perfectly honest. And here's why. First of all, I think that Browns team, the only similarity I could see is they do have the capability to upset a team. Not a number 1 seed like the Chiefs, the Pats were the number 2 seed that year, I think, if I remember correctly. Unless was
the Jets were the
Colts?
No, I think the Jets.
I know the Jets
were the 6th.
I'm not talking about the Jets.
Okay. For the 6th seed, after the 1 seed, right?
Okay. So I think the Chiefs are a better team than that Pats team was. So I don't know if they have the capability in that regard to get the top team. Do I think they can upset the Titans? I mean, yeah, we've seen it. Do I think they can upset the Bills? Potentially. I think the Bills are more well-rounded than them. But the only thing I'll have to counter is that that Jets team didn't have the weapons on offense that the Browns team has now. And Baker Mayfield is far better than Mark Sanchez in terms of his turnover. I mean, he has turnovers, but I mean, Mark Sanchez, I think he went, he had 12 touchdowns and 20 picks. Baker Mayfield had 21 picks last year.
That was his rookie year. His sophomore year, he won 13. That was his rookie year talking about.
Okay. Well, fine. But the Browns have a better running game, but they've also been going off of their quarterback more and throwing the ball more and throwing the ball more efficiently. I mean, Mark Sanchez was never a top 10. I don't even know if he was personally. I don't even think he was a top 15. I think Baker was a top 15. He's a top 15. But the argument can be made numbers-wise. He's definitely above average. And if we want to call him
Baker Mayfield was one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the worst quarterback behind Jameis Winston last year. He's had a step forward because of the coach that he has and the running game that he has. And I do believe quickly. I will say this, and I want to cut in because I disagree with both of you guys. I think the Browns quite capable could win a round in this playoff or make noise in the playoffs. Not because of Baker Mayfield. It's because of their running game. They have Kareem Hunt. They have Chubb. These guys are dynamic for themselves. They can control the clock in the game. In the playoffs, it's all about defense. Myles Garrett getting to the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, and running the ball. The Giants did it 2 years in 2007 and 2011. That's really the ingredient of success in the playoffs. So, yes, I do believe the Browns can make noise. No thanks to Baker Mayfield. You don't need a top quarterback in the league to win a Super Bowl. We've seen that before.
Wait, you're kind of agreeing with me. You're saying a ground and pound play defense kind of way to win. That's
yes,
what
that I do agree.
That's what the Jets defense was in 2010. But I can't compare their defenses. The Jets had a top 3 defense in 2010. That defense was ridiculous.
It's a 20 rank difference right now. But the only thing I'll say is Myles Garrett last night. He was working on Andrew Thomas, the rookie at Georgia, who's been kind of a bust all year. He didn't even touch I think if he got him with a minute left in the game when it was completely over. I mean, they were even documenting he's been completely quiet on that side of the ball. But to counter errors in that, I mean, the Giants when they did it, I mean, their running game was all right. I mean, they went off their passing game. Their defense was ranked 25th in 2011 and 17th in 2007. They had a pass rush. That defense is secondary. They lost guys in the preseason. They lost Terrell Thomas. And they lost guys in their linebacking core. They called Chase Blackburn. I think he was working at a bike shop in like week 6. And he wound up, that panning out. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. So I don't really see how the Browns can do that necessarily. But, to kind of give Baker some credit, I mean, this is the 4th offense he's had to learn in 3 years. So
Don't give me that.
I'm going to have to give him that. It's completely relevant. We said the same thing with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's had to learn less.
No. Has any of the 2018 draft class of quarterbacks have anything close to talent?
No, but it's all no. Absolutely not. But at the same token, Odell was on that team, and now that I hate to say it, but now that Odell's hurt, Baker Mayfield's numbers have skyrocketed. So sometimes I don't want to. This might sound like an asinine argument, but sometimes quarterbacks, when they have the number 1 receiver or they have these number 1 guys, sometimes it doesn't pan out as much as if you had a collective effort or collective unit of guys that can ground and pound, move the ball downfield. Landry could air it out. He can work from the slot. He's not as good as he should be in my eyes, but he's good enough to be a number 1. He's a number 2, but I would say he's good enough for number 1 for Baker. I mean, Baker has had a lot, but at the same token, he's done more with less than he's done with a lot. Kind of how I see it. I mean, let's think. He's been better without Odell.
I want to talk about that 2010 Jets team again. What they surrounded Mark Sanchez with was absolutely ridiculous. They basically put a Pro Bowl offensive line in front of him with D. Brick, Nick Mangold, all those boys. Santonio Holmes and Braylon Edwards was a sick duo. That was a sick duo. Dustin Keller emerged as a better half tight end in the league. Sean Green and LaDainian Tomlinson was another great running back duo. Is it Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt? Absolutely not. But I see the similar in terms of the greatness surrounding the quarterback is very similar, which is why I made that comparison. But I think Baker Mayfield is definitely better than Mark Sanchez. But the liability for that 2010 Jets team was Mark Sanchez and Mark Sanchez only. I feel like that's the same thing with the Browns. I feel like Baker is the liability. I don't trust him in the playoffs. I don't trust him late in the game in a big moment, especially with no playoff experience. Maybe they could upset a team in the wild card round. That's probably their ceiling. But I wouldn't pick them to win a playoff game.
Right. See, now, I mean, the thing with Baker is that, while Mark Sanchez was a liability, if he was on, his ceiling was a game manager. If Baker's on, his ceiling is taking over the game. He could throw for 5 touchdowns and 300 yards. We've seen it happen. We saw it happen a couple weeks ago against the Titans, who, in your eyes, are the best team to, dethrone the Chiefs. So we've seen Baker Mayfield take over these games and play really well off the play action, move the ball downfield, underneath, draw the defense in, rely on the run. Yes, of course. I mean, he's got the best running back tandem in football by far and away a large margin.
Nick Chubb is simply
amazing. He moves the pack every time.
Of a second-round pick out of Georgia. Complete steal.
Absolutely.
He's unbelievable.
Did Errol leave?
Yeah, I think his connection went out. But real quick,
it was me.
To stay on this topic, could the Browns even win the division with the Steelers, or does the Steelers have that on lockdown?
No, I think it's over. As you know, Carl, Greg, and I have gone back and forth about the Steelers being overrated. I said it like a month ago, you're an 11-0 team, you lose back-to-back games. I mean, that kind of solidifies it right there. I don't think the division's within reach for the Browns. I think they do have the Jets next week, so I would hope that's a gimme for them. I know, talking about Jets matchups is probably not what you want to do today, but all right. We could, of course, we could do that.
Yeah. So one thing about now, I want to switch gears to the NFC. Is the NFC wide open, or is this the Packers to lose? Is it the Packers and everybody else, or really any team could win?
First of all, I'm loving how you're getting these graphics on in a timely fashion. I mean, you must have it loaded in, just hitting the enter button. That's awesome. If it's wide open, yeah, I would think so. The Saints and the Packers are at the top right now. The Rams can make some noise. I haven't been a fan of them all year, but they can make a little noise, except yesterday.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been saying that. We'll forget about that for now. The Rams are definitely capable of making some noise. Seattle, if they can get their offense going, Russell Wilson in the playoffs, I always like. I do think it's going to be the Packers or the Saints, but that West is pretty crowded. The Cardinals, if they can get hot, they're starting to get hot at the right time after being down for a little bit. Now they went from down back to the upward trend, so that could definitely help them. The East, I don't see anybody really making noise personally. I hope the Giants can do something to get into the playoffs. 70% chance no right now. I think that you need Washington to lose. You need Washington to lose out, and you got to win one of the 2 games. Which, if Haskins is the quarterback, is not impossible, but it's going to be tough nonetheless. I mean, the Panthers have been completely inconsistent. But in terms of the NFC, right now I like the Packers as number 1. I'm not even going to go for a bold take. Will they come out of the NFC? Listen, like you said, it's not like basketball or baseball where the better team typically wins because you can get a series going and you could rely on the 4 to 7 games to get you the win. Football, anything can happen. We've seen upsets every year. Every year there's been some kind of upset, whether it be a 3 to a 6 seed, a 4 to a 5 seed, or a 1 to a 6 seed in the divisional round. We've seen it. It happens last year. It happened with the Titans and the Ravens. Happened with the Titans and the Pats. We saw multiple from the same team. But it should be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, the NFC East is kind of a liability to make it not so wide open. But even still, you're going to get 2 teams out of the South. You're going to probably get. You're probably going to get definitely. I personally think you're going to get 3 out of the West and then 1 out of the North. So the North is where you're going to get it, because you're going to get. And the wild card right now, I would say, is the Rams. The Seahawks, Bucks, and the Cardinals. I'm not sure what the seeding is. It's Monday. I haven't looked at that yet. But I don't know if it's if the NFC is as closed down as one thinks. I think it is the Packers to lose. But if the Saints can get hot, we could see them in the Superdome battling out in the NFC Championship game. But then again, barring upsets.
I think the NFC is wide open outside of the NFC least. Don't try to throw the Giants or Washington in there. And the 6 out of 7 teams could absolutely make the NFC. If you asked me about 48 hours ago, or 36 hours ago rather, who's the favorite? I may have told you the Rams. I think that kind of changed after 1 week. I did not see that happening. Rams 17-point favorites. Found a way to lose to the Jets. The Packers, I just feel like almost every year, Aaron Rodgers is having an MVP caliber season. The Packers are rolling, and then all of a sudden they find a way to lose a playoff game. People thought they were going to make it last year. People thought 3 years ago that they were going to make it. I think it's just every year the Packers have a letdown. Since Rodgers and those Packers won the Super Bowl, in 2011 or 2010 or 2011 Super Bowl 45. I believe Rodgers is something like 5-6 in playoff games, or 6-6 or something. It's nothing that
He
great.
hasn't been perfect. He got upset by Eli.
They've been upset a few times against the Giants, and there's been other against bad quarterbacks where they've lost. So why now am I supposed to expect, okay, this is the year that they actually get through and make the Super Bowl? I feel like they got bounced in the AFC Championship probably like 4 times in the past decade or so. The Saints, another team, 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
the
Falcons, Niners.
The Saints choked last year against the Vikings. Drew Brees probably was the 3rd best quarterback in that game. Behind Taysom Hill and Kirk Cousins. He literally got outplayed by Kirk Cousins in his own building. Am I going to trust Drew Brees now coming off injury where he looked a little rusty yesterday? I don't know about that either. And let's not forget the miracle, the Stephon Diggs miracle with the Vikings,
right,
in that playoff game. I mean, how am I? And the blown pass interference call against the Rams. The Saints had.
I'm not going to blame either of those two on Breeze, though. But yes.
Sure. Yeah, because they were in position to win. Okay, that's fine. Last year was 100%. You could blame Drew Brees. There's just nobody
Absolutely.
Who's proven.
He's the only one to blame.
There's nobody's proven that it's okay. It's them and everybody else. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In the beginning of the season, I was all on the Bucs train that they're going to the Super Bowl. Like, Tom Brady's proven he's a top 5 quarterback. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's finally healthy in the lineup. Gronk looks like he turned back the clock. The defense was at one point like 2nd or 3rd in the league. I don't know what happened now.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a good comeback win for them. Sure. Down 24-7. Brady showed he's still clutch. He's looked inconsistent. And doing that against the Falcons, what is that really proving? The Atlanta Falcons have blown a lead to basically every team in the NFL. So I can't really say that the Bucs are going to be the favorite right now, especially that when Brady was on the Patriots, Brady and Belichick have never made a Super Bowl without a first-round bye. Obviously, they will not have that this year. So am I supposed to expect that Brady's going to go on the road 3 straight games and win a playoff game? Hey, Tom Brady, it's kind of hard to bet against him or count him out. And the Rams, on the other hand, they had the top defense in the NFL. Aaron Donald's arguably the best player in football. Jalen Ramsey has proven he could be a shutdown corner, the best corner in the NFL. Now they just laid an egg against the Jets. Was that a fluke game? Or is that going to – I think the thing with them losing to the Jets right now in the season, that's really crucial. Because I always say the last 4 weeks of the NFL season is where you need to get hot. Do not go into the playoffs cold. That's where things can go south real quick. That's how you could see good teams get upset. That's my worry with the Rams. Before yesterday, I would have probably said the Rams and the Packers were the favorite. Right now, it's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Rams and Steelers. I've been pretty negative based against them. And on Sundays and Wednesdays in that list. But the Rams. There's no excuse for losing to one of the worst teams in NFL history. I mean, who is the loss worse for is another question. But I know it's tough this morning. You got the New York City backdrop in the background there, so I know that's tough. See the Jets take a win where they really lose. But yeah, it's completely wide open. Like, you don't know who's gonna get hot. There's a lot of premier quarterbacks in the NFC, and there's a couple teams in there that might not have premier quarterbacks in the NFC. Like, if whoever gets in the NFC East obviously doesn't have a premier quarterback. I hate to say it, the Rams probably don't have one either. He's very inconsistent, Jared Goff. And Kyler Murray's been showing that he's good. He's been mobile. He's been doing it well. I mean, if only the Eagles started Jalen Hurts 5 weeks ago, they would probably be division champions. Who, by the way, I don't know what it is, but he has it in Philly.
Jalen Hurts has officially taken away Carson Wentz's job. Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz, in the words of Skip Bayless. Carson Wentz is going to find himself on the market. Don't know how the Eagles are going to make a way to trade him, given they just gave him that huge deal after they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. But at least for the Eagles and their fans, it looks like they found their guy. A second-round pick. Alabama not necessarily known for their quarterbacks, and Oklahoma. But I guess
that might have been the difference.
I guess the Eagles found their guy. Again, like the Cardinals, like at some points they're like, okay, are they a top team in the NFC? Then it's like, nah, that DeAndre Hopkins miracle, Calvin Johnson remix Hail Mary. It looks like they haven't really bounced back since. They've been struggling ever since their Hail Mary moment.
I don't know. Even before that, they lost 4-5.
Right.
And that was the one game they won.
No one has proven that they're better than one another. I keep saying with the NFC especially, the last 4 weeks, whoever's hot has the best. Who is going to be my favorite after Week 17? That's my prediction. The hottest team in the NFC is who I'm picking right now. The Packers look like one. Thought it was the Rams, but clearly they're not. So I guess right now you have to give the Packers the upper edge because they're the most consistent team right now with the number 1 seed getting a first-round bye. So I guess as of now, you have to give the Packers the edge. But I still give every team outside of the NFC least team, I'll give them a chance to beat them.
Absolutely. And I hate to even say this as a Giants fan, but Washington's defense right now is ranked 5th in the league. They can upset you in a weird way. They really can. If you're the 4 seed and I guess the Rams, Seahawks, or Bucks are the 5 seed, none of those games are blowout level type games like, oh, this team doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs, that like lost type games. Very doable for both sides, and how I see that in terms of Washington potentially getting an upset. But it'll all be defensive in that case. But the NFC is wide open.
Earl made it back. Glad to see you. Is the NFC wide open, or is this the Packers to lose?
Oh, it's wide open. The NFC is there's so much depth in the NFC. You just don't know where it's going to go. I think the AFC is so much more top heavy, and I think the better teams are in the AFC right now. But I think that as far as all around depth, it comes from the NFC, all the way from the 6th to the 5th to the 4th to the 3rd. I mean, there's the seeds. There's no one team better than the other right now in the NFC. Green Bay, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers, he's been sensational. What we've seen this year, to me, I think is the MVP. I mean, even though I look at Seattle and I think their defense is horrendous, if they can run the ball the way they have with Carson, and they can throw the ball the way we've seen Russell Wilson do, and if he can outscore his opponents, I think that there's a very good chance Seattle could go deep into the playoffs. I don't think they will, but it could happen. I mean, the NFC is so, you're going up and down right now as far as the Saints. Michael Thomas. We don't know if Michael Thomas is going to be at the top of his game this year, coming back from his injury. I don't know. Alvin Kamara, he's a sensational player. But, again, the Saints, we don't know what Drew Brees is. We don't know if he's 100%. We don't know if his ribs are 100%. So, as good as he looked yesterday in certain aspects of the game against Kansas City, they still played a horrible game in the second half of the game. So, I think that when you're looking at the big picture right now, it's open. The NFC is more open than the AFC. I think it comes down to 3 other teams besides Kansas City. The 2, maybe I'm wrong, because I look at the Colts too. I know a lot of people don't talk about the Colts. The Colts are a dangerous team too because of their defense. I love what the Colts have done defensively this year too. Fantastic. But the NFC is so wide open. I'm sorry?
I just said they have an excellent running game. Taylor and Hines have been nice in the committee.
Absolutely. I think the Colts, I know a lot of people don't like Phillip Rivers, because he hasn't really produced in the playoffs. Phillip Rivers has never been on a talented team, all-around talented team like this. This is
the Chargers. They were supposed to be the favorites until they got bounced by New England.
I remember that. I never thought that team was that good.
No, like 2 years ago in 2018, people were so behind the Chargers.
Yeah, I wasn't. And by the way, they were very, very good a couple of years ago. I think it was against the Jets. What was it, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, with Phillip Rivers? They were one of the favorites to come out of the AFC as well.
Sean Green, touchdown to seal it. But to speak on the Seahawks are the biggest pretenders in the NFC. I've been saying for months they're not winning the Super Bowl. Their defense is a bottom-dwelling defense, even though they figured it out a little bit. I'll give them that. When you have a bottom-dwelling defense in this league, I don't count you in to win a Super Bowl unless your quarterback is on pace to do something absolutely heroic, and it's nothing against Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf is a complete physical specimen. I understand that. Chris Carson is proven to be a top a 15 running back in the NFL. But when you have a poor defense, you are just behind the eight ball, and you're honestly that's a liability, and that's their Achilles heel. Here's the thing: as great as Russell Wilson's been, as clutch as we've seen him to be, he could drive down the field in a playoff game, lead the Seahawks to a game-winning drive, and hand the ball back to the other team with 2 minutes left. Do you trust that defense to get a stop? Get them up. Russell Wilson could put them up 3 points or 4 points or 5 points. What is that going to mean if you can't trust your defense to make a stop in 2 minutes of a game? NFL is so crucial in terms of clock management and just time of possession. If at some point you're going to have to trust the defense. Why have the Patriots been so successful? Because in 26 of 41 playoffs for Tom Brady, Bill Belichick's defense has pitched a fourth quarter shutout. So everyone loves to glorify Tom Brady and all this. I'm not trying to make it a Tom Brady segment or a slander piece, rather. When your defense is pitching fourth quarter shutout, 26 out of 41 games, of course you're in position to win. And of course it gives your quarterback an opportunity to make comeback drives and win games and come back and win. That's why the Seahawks have no chance to win the Super Bowl or even get out of the NFC, rather. If you don't have a good defense,
that defense is horrible.
It's really tough. And I don't think the Seahawks are that team.
Mm-hmm. It's again, the NFC is wide open. I'm sure you guys are talking about that. And there's no straight up down to the wire top team right now in the NFC that say, they're the team to beat. I didn't think San Francisco was the team to beat, even though their defense was sensational the way it was in the second half of the season last year. I thought their running game really stuck out to me, and it showed in the playoffs. And then all the way to the Super Bowl when Kyle Shanahan did another one of his bloopers, the stupidity that he is, the stupid coach that he is, stop running the ball with the last 7 minutes of the game. I think the secrets to winning in the NFL in the playoffs is running the ball and top end, get to your quarterback, high edge type of defense. And I, even though it doesn't show on paper that Seattle to be that, I hate Jamal Adams. Everybody knows what I feel about Jamal Adams and what he is as a person, how despicable he is as a person. They're going to blitz a lot in the playoffs. That's what they're going to do. They're going to use the blitz. They're going to try to win by the blitz and die by the blitz. That's what they're going to do. And that might throw teams off depending on the packages that they use. I think when you look at Seattle, if Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson like he was in the first half of the season, they are quite capable of going right through to the NFC Championship.
They're not, though.
I never said that they were. I said that they're quite capable of doing that.
I don't.
Quite capable.
Their defense was at their worst in the beginning of the season when Russell Wilson was balling. It was basically him throwing that team on his back, of course, with the pieces around him on the offensive side of the ball. But if your defense can't make a stop, you're not going to be successful. And the Tom Brady point.
So all you fans, you just heard Flacco answer all your questions on this whole Trevor Lawrence debacle, okay? I just want to say this because you just answered the question of the day that makes me so happy that you did. Because it don't matter if the Jets get the number one pick or not. As good as Trevor Lawrence is, he's one player. Does anybody think if he goes to Jacksonville, he's going to win championships over there? He's got a better chance of winning a championship with the New York Jets. So all you guys that were taking shots at the New York Jets and shooting them down and saying that they're the worst team in football, go look at the rosters they have to some of the teams that have been debacle. Go the Bengals. The Bengals who had the number one pick last year with Burrows. They only have 2 wins this year. You want to talk about all the teams right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars they have no talent whatsoever. Zero talent whatsoever. And they have a chance to get the number one pick, and it's not going to make them a better team. I'm sorry. I'm so tired of hearing people say, well, the Jets are the joke of the NFL. The only joke of the Jets right now is Adam Gase. And when Adam Gase is out of the picture, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Well, to flip the script to my next topic, the Jets and the Rams. The Rams are fighting for a playoff position right now. They were, I would say, legit NFC contenders. And now they fall to 9-5. And the Jets winning their first game of the year very unexpectedly out of of 17-point underdogs, win their first game of the season, and lose the number 1 overall pick. Earl started, but Declan, I want to hear your take. What are your thoughts on the Jets getting their first victory of the season?
Well, it's horrible for the Jets, obviously. I think Earl made some valid points and some in terms of Jacksonville. I don't know if I agree with all of his points, but I'll try to hit on all this quick. Who's suffering more from the outcome? By far, the Jets. The Rams might, screw up their seeding if they go from the 5. If they lose the division, they go from the 3 to the 5 seed. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're still going to be the 3 seed in the NFC, and it's not going to affect them that much. It's just embarrassing. The Jets yesterday, that loss, honestly, might have just screwed up their franchise for the next decade. And here's why. Trevor Lawrence is a can't-miss prospect. Obviously, everyone's been saying he's 3.0 of Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, and I think that is true. I think he is the best, not overhyped, but the most hyped prospect coming out of college since Andrew Luck, and before that, since Peyton Manning. In terms of the Jaguars, I'm saying they're a very good football team for 1-10. They've had quarterback troubles all year. Listen, city-wise, me being a New Yorker, and I think most people would feel this way, I'd rather go to New York than to be hanging out and chilling in Jacksonville for 16 years. That's just me. You can disagree with me if you want. That's just how I view it. I'd rather be in New York. New York is not what it was like 20 years ago before I was born in terms of playing here, stardom. But if he could turn himself into a celebrity if he's on the Jets, if that's what he cares about. In terms of an organizational standpoint, I mean, here's why, and I had this argument with my dad, because I would, if I was Trevor Lawrence, I'd rather go to the Jets, but I've had this argument for this reason. And we both talked this over. The Jaguars itself, right? There has been, first of all, no quarterback ever that has succeeded with the Jaguars outside of Mark Brunell for like 2 seasons. So, exactly. You're immediately, Dan Marino is a legend in Miami, and he didn't even win a Super Bowl. He's arguably more legend in Miami than anybody who played on that 72 Don Shula-led undefeated team. So, in terms of Jacksonville right now, they got a nice running back. That's kind of about it. They're gonna blow off some steam. And they got not they have a terrible defense, but they have a defense that's like capable for rebuilding and moving on and moving towards the next step. Listen, Trevor Lawrence, you're gonna see he could have a Herbert-like rookie season next season.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what's going to happen. They're a comparable team to the Chargers in that a couple of years ago they went to the playoffs. Three seasons ago, the Chargers went 2 seasons ago, and now they fell off, and they're kind of, I don't want to say laughing stock of the league like the Jets are, but they're a bottom team. Obviously, they're going to have the number 1 pick. Willing they don't somehow screw up their franchise for 10 years like the Jets did yesterday. But Jacksonville as a whole, I wouldn't want to go there. I've said that multiple times. I'm starting to get redundant. But in terms of actually becoming a football, I don't even want to say legend, but a top quarterback in the league, Jacksonville is probably a better spot immediately right now. This is the reality. The Jaguars, if they have the number 1 pick, have overshot and got over the top to become more of a head coaching commodity than the New York Jets. If the Jets would have had the 1 pick, they would have been more of a hot spot for coaches to go. Arthur Smith of the Titans, offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator, Eric, I don't know how to say his last name, but I know it's with a B. It's Behemini or something, on the Chiefs. I got to learn that because he might be the next coach of the Jets. There's some free agent coaches out there. There's going to be like 9 teams overall that are looking for a head coach. And the Jaguars are a hot spot, in my opinion. They're going to get rid of Doug Marrone. All right, hot spot might be overshooting it, but a hot spot in terms of compared to the Jets, you'd want to go to the Jaguars from a football standpoint. From a celebrity standpoint, I would want to go to New York.
All right, so Earl's back, but I want to bounce off Earl's point. I totally disagree, which it seems like, Earl, you're trying to make the non-vanilla take and the bold take that Trevor Lawrence is just one guy. It's not that big of a deal. Try to win. You don't want to be one of the 3 teams in NFL history to go 0-6. Here's the thing with that. I made a take after, I think, week 4 or 5 when the Jets proven to be the worst team in the league, like they usually are. But I said the Jets shouldn't draft Trevor Lawrence. I literally made the same take on my platform. I said the Jets shouldn't take Trevor Lawrence. That won't accomplish anything because I think every other problem outside of Sam Darnold is the Jets' problem. Here's the thing with that. Adam Gase and Todd Bowles, before he got there, completely ruined Sam Darnold. Gase has no trust in him. The organization is a complete disaster. I think the whole coaching staff needs to go. They destroyed him. So for Darnold, this would be if he stayed with the team next year, he would be looking to get that extension. So again, the Jets would have to pay him. That's problem number one, which I don't want to do. Number two, he would have to learn his third offensive system in 4 years, which I'm not banking on him being successful. I like Darnold. I think he's a very talented quarterback. I think with a better organization, a better coaching staff with pieces around him, he can be a good team. I think you could place Darnold on a team right now that are mediocre of the pack, and he could put them over the hump. I think Darnold has that type of talent. What I don't like about him is, number one, your best ability is your availability. Darnold has not been available. As a franchise quarterback, I need you to play 16 games a year. Darnold has not done that. This year, he dealt with a shoulder injury. Last year, he had mono. His rookie year, he had an ankle injury. 3 injuries in a row. I'm done. I don't want that anymore. I think the coaching staff ruined him. The Jets and Sam Darnold need a completely fresh new start. And now when it actually and another thing with Darnold that I meant to say, he's still making the same mistakes he did in college. Darnold was a guy who could be very explosive, very talented. He makes the same mistakes that he did then, making bad decisions with the ball. We see that time and time again. He's forcing throws. He's trying to extend plays. He's thinking he's better than he is when he's really not. And part of that is Gase not having no trust in him. That's problem number one. Number two, I think his pocket awareness absolutely stinks. He doesn't feel defenders coming on his blind side at all, even though that offensive line is a disaster. He can't feel pressure, and he can't hold on to the football. If you can't do those things and you're turning over the ball, you're not available, your coaches destroyed you, and now you're looking for an extension, it's time to move on. Now let's flip the script into drafting Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has been a guy compared in the likes of Peyton Manning with more mobility. If that is the case and you are as desperate as the New York Jets are, you have to go all in and do whatever it takes. I think it's very safe to say we know that the Jets are going to wipe out this coaching staff. Adam Gase is gone. Greg Williams is already gone. Their other Logan Donnell or whatever the hell his name is, the offensive coordinator, he's going to be gone. Wipe out the whole coaching staff. Start with Trevor Lawrence. Am I trying to say that drafting Trevor Lawrence means that the Jets can go 8-8 next year, 10-6, and make the playoffs? Absolutely not. But it's a start. Not keeping Sam Darnold saves you more with the salary cap and cap space. Joe Douglas, who did build the 2017 Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles from scratch, basically, and did it with a backup quarterback in Nick Foles. So we have to trust him because people are trying to say he's the guy, and now he has a bunch of picks. I want to see what you can do with these picks. Get Trevor Lawrence, try to build a piece around him, have a new coaching staff, and have a coaching staff that could develop Lawrence. If that's the case, in 4 years from now, maybe the Jets are competitive again and fighting for a playoff spot. Look at what the Cleveland Browns did. In 2017, when they were 0-16, you wouldn't say after that season, okay, draft Baker Mayfield number one, and then everything is just going to fix, right? Look how much they had, over $100 million in cap space. With, I believe the Jets have something around that. I believe it's going to be 80 to 100 million in cap space, if I remember correctly. They have 2 first-round picks because they have the one from Seattle. So you have 2 first-round picks. You have a bunch of other picks, and you have $100 million. Next year could be a start to moving in the right direction. Maybe we see them win 6 games under Trevor Lawrence, which they probably won't get him now because they blew that opportunity. But that's my whole point in trying to build the
I do want to cut in here. I do want to.
The Jets had real potential to flip their franchise around in years to come. So yes, the Jets did what they do best worst, and they ended up winning. Terrible.
I do want to say something and cut into the conversation because I said what I felt about what people have been saying about Trevor Lawrence. Everybody could say whatever they want about Trevor Lawrence. They also thought Ryan Leaf was going to be a superstar quarterback, and he never was. He plays in the ACC, okay? This is a kid that's been playing in a division, not like the SEC, when you're playing against Alabama, Auburn, and all those top teams, Florida. Now, I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be a star in the league. He could. But who's to say Justin Fields can't be a star? Now, I don't know what Justin Fields is, and I don't know what Trevor Lawrence is. And I'm not going to say that I didn't want Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to draft Justin Fields. What I'm saying is that one guy doesn't win championships, okay? It's a fact. It doesn't happen that way. It's all about what kind of coaches you put around the players, what kind of players that you have, winning type of personalities. And I want to tell you guys something also. As a player, you're playing for a job. You're playing for another salary. As a Jet, as a player right now, you're not thinking about next year trying to play with Trevor Lawrence because you don't even know if you're going to have a job. So in their hearts, they went out there and they played their hearts out like they did against Oakland, like they did against New England. They just fell short. This game, they didn't fall short. They played hard. They played deep. You saw Quinnen Williams become a star right in front of our eyes. Tell me who was a better defensive lineman in that game, Aaron Donald or Quinnen Williams? The answer is Quinnen Williams. He was the best defensive lineman in that game yesterday. You saw the beast of a man yesterday. How about Mekhi Beckham? What you saw yesterday, the Jets putting their running game right behind him and just practically jumping on his shoulders and running that ball down their throats against the best defense in the league. So, again, you could say whatever you want. The Jets play one of the best teams in the league, and they beat one of the best teams in the league in their home where they never lost a game. So I know it's too late, too little, too late. I know it's all the saying and this and this and that. And Adam Gase is a moron, which he is. But Trevor Lawrence, it's not over for the Jets not to get Trevor Lawrence because the Jaguars are playing Chicago next week. And right now, the line went from 10 to 3. Go look at the line right now. The line went from 10 to 3. Yes.
If you know betting and you know how to read lines, that line movement will tell you everything you need to know. When you see a line that looks super sketchy and you're like, why does this look too good to be true? There's always a catch behind it. Vegas knows things we don't know, and don't ever forget I said that. That is a line I don't know. I'm very on top of that stuff. I did not know that. If that's the case, that's wild. I did not know that.
I would say if they did, that's because they know that a lot of people are going to be taking Jacksonville in hopes that they blow their chances. Maybe the line in reality should be more of a 6.
They just have this business to bank on people losing. They know what they're doing. When they have a line that's like, yo, why does this look too good to be true? It's because the public is going to slam them. The way they make their bread is the public slamming that team. There's a few instances throughout the NFL season where it's like, yo, are you kidding me? The Browns the other week, +3. You can't make it up. The public is heavy against the Browns, +3. And what happens on the last play of the game? A safety. Yeah, like you can't make it up. Another one that I remember off the top of my head, the Packers at the Colts. The line was +1 for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers MVP, right? What do you think then? Public heavy Packers. Colts find a miracle way to come back and win. There's other games that I can't think of off the top.
I'm just cutting, and I'm sorry to cut in. I'm just letting you guys know. I found out from my friend. He said, "Did you see the line today?" And I said, "No." And I'm going to give a shout out to Josh from Off the Mat. He's a big Jet fan. He said the line went from 10 to 3 this morning. Wow. So, yeah.
You could talk about other lines. The Chiefs and the Saints. Before Drew Brees was announced as starting quarterback, you know what the line was? 3. Mm-hmm. What happened? A day later, Drew Brees announced starting. What was the final score of the game? The Chiefs won by 3. I'm telling you, if you don't know football, but you could read lines and you understand line movement, it will tell you everything you need to know about these teams. That's really I didn't know that.
And here's another argument to it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, and guys, just look at these numbers. If Tennessee wins this week and Indianapolis, who's playing Pittsburgh, loses this week, no matter if Indianapolis wins next week and has the same record as Tennessee, Tennessee's still the number 1 seed in their division, which means Indianapolis is going to sit out players week 17. That's what I'm saying. So you guys got to look at all the ratios and all the numbers here. The numbers don't lie, and I'm telling you right now, it's so funny because as a Jet fan, everybody says, well, look at New England. New England's going to play hard now that the Jets won that game because New England's not going to sit there and say, you know what, we're going to lose against the Jets. We're going to be just like the Rams. They're going to try to beat out the Jets in week 17. I think that the Bears will the Browns will beat the Jets this week because of their running game. Quinn Williams might play. Quinn Williams is not playing this week, more than likely a concussion. That's what I'm hearing. He almost threw up on the sidelines in the fourth quarter. So that's a huge loss. Look at the running games. Look at what they did look what the Rams did in the fourth quarter when Quinn Williams came out of the game. They were running the ball right down the throats of the New York Jets when Quinn Williams came out. It's a huge loss when you lose a guy as talented as Quinn Williams. And Quinn Williams is showing everybody why he's one of the best defensive linemen in the league now. So yes, the line going down with the Bears is a huge sign. And obviously, I'm telling you, look at these numbers, guys. If Indianapolis loses this week against Pittsburgh and Tennessee wins this week, then no matter what Indianapolis does, they are going to be seated in the same exact spot if they played the game on week 17 or they don't, which means they're going to sit out their players. And that gives the Jets another opportunity to come back and win, and the Jacksonville Jaguars win a game. Jacksonville is not going to give up the game. You see they're playing hard for Doug Marrone. They are. And I think, obviously, the Ravens need to win the game. Everybody keeps saying the Bears still are in the hunt for a playoff spot. They're not making the playoffs. There's no way they're making the playoffs. So, I just think knowing that Jacksonville is right now, the line dropped, it's saying a lot where that game could turn out to be.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Two questions.
You just got to hope Trubisky plays that.
Is it officially official that the Jaguars are not going all in on Gardner Minshew when he comes back? That's number one. Number two, if they really aren't, that means they're obviously going to get Trevor Lawrence with the first pick. But will they just lose on purpose to secure him? Why would a team this late in the season blow an opportunity to get a guy like Lawrence? Like what are you accomplishing by it? What are you accomplishing by it?
Doug Marrone's job. Doug Marrone's job. And I think a lot of the players are playing for Doug Marrone. They really I'm trying to get a Jacksonville writer on this week. I'm working on it, trying to get him on my show. I believe that the players are playing for Doug Marrone. They want to play for Doug Marrone. They want Doug Marrone there for the long haul. I believe they're going to play hard these next two games. They played hard against the Ravens, too. The Ravens just played harder. And Lamar Jackson has a lot to prove after he had to take a dump in the game and almost lost that game because everybody thought he got hurt when he was really taking a crap. Okay, so I think that right now, I know a lot of people are sitting, Jet fans are going to throw up because we're going to lose Trevor Lawrence. Win or lose Trevor Lawrence, these next 2 weeks are going to say a lot about Jacksonville keeping Doug Marrone. I really believe the organization really likes Doug Marrone, and they still think they can win with Doug Marrone. So, and that's what I've heard through the grapevine. So I do believe that they're going to play for Doug Marrone. The question is their defense going to be able to hold a team like the Bears if Mitchell Trubisky doesn't play? If Mitch plays, even though I like Mitch has not looked good in the last two games. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's coached wrongly. I think there's so many strengths that Mitch Trubisky has. You saw that in his first year.
He could be the quarterback of that team next year. Yeah,
he should be. He should be with the right coach. The coaching has been horrendous this year. Absolutely horrendous. Nagy, who I thought I liked, he is going to be he's going to get fired. Everything I've heard, he's getting fired as soon as the last game of the season. He will be fired, and they're going to move elsewhere with possibly Fitzgerald, I'm hearing.
Declan, is it official that the Jaguars will move on from Gardner Minshew, that he's definitely not the answer, and it is the Jaguars' best interest to go to Trevor Lawrence if they hold on to this top pick?
They're not going to lose purposely. That's what I will say. They're not going to lose purposely. They're playing for contracts. All of them are playing for contracts. Just like the Jets. You saw what the Jets did. You see how happy they were? Trust me. The owner of the team is not going to go down there and tell the coach, you know what, I want you to lose the game because you have a chance to get Trevor Lawrence. They're not going to do that. They're going to play hard, just like the Jets are, and whatever happens, happens.
I guess. Declan, what are your thoughts?
So I'd be very upset if they move on from Minshew because I've been a huge supporter of him. But at this point, they're definitely going to. Listen, it's not like you spent a first-round draft pick on him 2 years ago, and you're going to shuffle around your whole organization and to kind of punt the last 2 years and you admit that it's a failure. You took him in the 6th round. It was a very nice rookie year, fun while it lasted. This year kind of fell off. The team fell off. The injuries were rough. They're going to have to move on from. I mean, if they get the first pick, it's as good as gold that they're taking Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that would be like the garbage man winning the lottery and throwing away the ticket. So that would be foolish on all accounts for them. I personally think if they don't get Trevor Lawrence, if they somehow find a way to screw up their entire franchise, they're going to get Justin Fields. I don't see a scenario where Minshew winds up being the quarterback on this team. I wish I did. I just can't see it right now. And maybe Minshew, hopefully he can go somewhere and compete for a job. Like if Washington doesn't draft a quarterback next year, and if he could try to sneak in there somehow. I don't even know if that's possible. But if Alex Smith is kind of on the end, if he tries to sneak in there and try to find a way to get an opportunity, or even Denver. I'm not saying any of these guys are getting ousted. He's not going to find a starting job. He's going to be a backup. But if he could find a way to hopefully see some playing time or make a nice career move. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Minshew, but they're drafting a quarterback.
That was my last question on this topic. Assuming the Jets, the draft picks stay the way they are, the Jaguars get Trevor Lawrence at number 1. What do the Jets do at number 2? Do you draft Justin Fields, or do you try to trade back and just acquire more picks? Is it time to move on from Sam Darnold if you can't get Trevor Lawrence? Earl?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You want me to go?
No, go ahead. Yeah, of course.
Here's what I think is going to happen. If the Jets don't get the number 1 pick, the Jets will move down in the draft. I don't think even though I like Justin Fields, and I think Justin Fields is, I believe he reminds me of like Russell Wilson type of quarterback. He's a quarterback that he's bigger than Russell Wilson, obviously 6'3", has a lot of speed, has a great arm. He likes to throw the ball up. The last couple of games he hasn't looked good, but I remember the Rose Bowl is right around the corner. It's right around the corner, and he can outplay Trevor Lawrence in the Rose Bowl, and then people are going to be talking about, and if he wins the national title with Ohio State and knocks off Clemson and then Alabama, I mean, who's to say that even though Trevor Lawrence is definitely going to be the number 1 pick, who's to say anybody's going to pass up on a Justin Fields? I do believe that the Jets will move down, and here's what I think they're going to do. They're going to try to compile more first and second round draft picks because they have 9 of them, which is more than any team in football in the next 2 years, which is unbelievable. And I think they're going to do with that pick with Seattle. They can then move up with maybe a second or third round draft pick, move up to the teens, and maybe draft Zach Wilson. I could see that happening with the Jets. That makes a lot of sense. Zach Wilson will not be a top 10 quarterback. I don't care what anybody says, him moving up. But Zach Wilson could turn out to be the best quarterback in this class. He really could. I mean, his accuracy, I know he's not in a good conference. I know all of that, but there are a lot of quarterbacks that have come out. First of all, Steve Young came out of BYU. You see where he has been, and what he was. Yes, I'm sorry?
Taysom Hill too, yeah.
Yep. So there are good quarterbacks that have come out of BYU. So nobody can say that BYU doesn't have quality quarterbacks that have come out from that school. So I think Zach Wilson is a possibility for the Jets, where you don't have to necessarily draft him in the top 10. I do, and no matter how good he looks at the combine, no matter how he looks for the rest of the season, I do believe that people are going to look that he's from BYU and he doesn't play in quite an NFL style, full NFL style of offense, where he's going to have to sit out for a year. I could see the Jets moving up from 19 or 20 or 21, wherever Seattle gets knocked out of the playoffs, and actually use maybe one of their seconds or their thirds to move up to 12 or 13 and get Zach Wilson, where I think that the Jets can still get their 2 quality first-round draft picks and still stock up on picks and really rebuild this team. So I think the Jets, if they go at number 2, they will trade down to a team that's looking for a quarterback. There are quite a few of them. AK Carolina will be one of them, who would love Justin Fields, absolutely love Justin Fields. Baylor offense with Justin Fields, a quarterback that can run and throw and do all those things. I think Matt Rule will love him. Even though Teddy Bridgewater got the 3-year deal. And you don't have to start Justin Fields right away over there in Carolina either. So that would be a beneficial move for somebody like the Carolina Panthers to do something like that, to move up from 4 to 2 and get the quarterback, because there's a lot of teams that are going to reach out to the Jets, especially Justin Fields, who I still think is going to be a star quarterback in this league. Win, lose, or draw, I don't care what he's done in his last game. They still won the game, and I still think we haven't seen the best of Justin Fields yet. Trust me, Rose Bowl, bet Ohio State to make impressive and a surprise win to knock off Clemson. I'm predicting it. I'm predicting Ohio State knocks off Clemson in the Rose Bowl.
Declan, what do the Jets do with the second pick?
The Jets trade down.
hopefully, for your guys' sake and well-being,
I thought
Jets wind up.
they were going to say from a Giants fan angle.
Nah, I'm not even gonna have to go there today. As far as I'm concerned, last night didn't happen. But for your guys' standpoint, hopefully the Jaguars lose. But say they get the number 2 pick. It's gonna be tough. I don't think this is all on Sam Darnold. However, I think at some point the relationship's not working, guys. You got to move on at some point here, and I think they just might do that. I think Errol made a great point with the college football playoffs here. Justin Fields has his chance here to solidify his shot at being the number 2 pick overall. Now, while I think he probably will wind up being, if the Jets trade out of it, the team that they trade with, Carolina would be a great partner with that college level. I don't want to say college level. I don't mean it as an insult, but a college level, kind of a really nice high-powered hybrid offense coming from Matt Rule from Baylor. That could work. That could be a nice partnership there. But Justin Fields, I don't think he's going to ever. I don't think anybody's going to think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I think there are some people out there that make it seem like the gap isn't that big. I think the gap is pretty big personally. But if the Jets feel confident in Fields, they'll do it. Otherwise, I don't even hate the idea of taking Sewell, the left tackle, or trading down. I think that's not a bad idea either. There's a couple routes they can go, but it would have been a lot easier if they lost the damn game yesterday, or if Jacksonville can lose the game, because that's a no-brainer what you do. That's how I see it. But I really think it's a great point. Fields can solidify his stock. I mean, maybe it's bad if he does that because he's going to be a New York Jet, but he can really up the ante there. And I don't think he's going to catch Clemson, but if he can perform in these playoffs, that's going to be huge for him.
So hold on one second. You're a Giant fan?
Yeah.
Yes.
He is. I'm a Jets.
Yes. And that's fine. That's fine that you're a Giant fan, but Justin Fields going to the Jets won't be bad. It depends on the coach. It depends on the coach. Listen, I thought Joe Judge was going to be a complete bust for the Giants because they had a chance to get Matt Rule. They should have grabbed Matt Rule. That's where he wanted to be. They didn't want to pay him. And for a Giants in a New York organization, that's fine. That's fine. You could argue that point. Joe Judge has turned out to be a good coach. He's the team's following him, and I like what he is, what he stands for, even though he's a Patriot. I love what he is as a coach as far as what he says and how he attacks every press conference, and he doesn't care what the press says to him. He's going to attack it the way he feels, just like guys like, Bill Parcells being one of them. So he reminds me of a Bill Parcells, a young Bill Parcells that doesn't give a crap. Not a Bill Belichick that goes, yeah, we're good. Next question. He's not like that. He answers your question and he'll let you. But for a Giant fan to say that if Justin Fields goes to the Jets, he won't succeed. Justin Fields is going to be a good quarterback in this league. I absolutely believe it. He was the number one.
I mean, I didn't say he would succeed.
He's the number one. He was the number one recruit. Okay, well, that's fine. He was the number one recruit prospect when he came out of high school. Not Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence was 2. He was 1. Now, what Trevor Lawrence has done for Clemson, he won a national title in his freshman year, coming off the bench. So everybody's talking about Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence has had a very good, sensational career. But he also plays for the ACC Clemson Tigers, which is coached by a very good coach and always has, the last 3 years, has had the second best recruiting class in the nation. And Justin Fields, as good as Ohio State was, Ohio State's known for their defense. They're not known for their offense or their wide receivers. So Justin Fields, who's he throwing to? What wide receivers coming out of the draft in the first or second round from them? The answer is no one. Zilch. So who's he throwing to? Now let's go over there to Trevor Lawrence. There's 2 guys right now, including their tight end, who they say is a second-round draft pick. There's 2 wide receivers, even their wide receiver, I forget his name, who got hurt in the middle of the season, who was supposed to be a mid-round, first-round draft pick, who because of injury might fall to the early second round. I mean, they're a stock team. They're a great team. So Trevor Lawrence has a bunch of great players, a great coach around them. Ohio State, give me a break. Urban Meyer's no longer there. So, again, Justin Fields, as bad as he looked last week, and he did not look good against Northwestern. I will say that. 125 yards thrown in a game for 22. I think he was 12 for 27 or something like that. He didn't look good. But, again, I do believe that Ohio State didn't get all their recruits this year. A lot of their recruits decided not to play because of COVID-19, which affected his growth. And this is a redemption game because if you remember last year, Fields lost against Trevor Lawrence, and everybody that was really the egg in the coffin, or whatever you want to say. It really solidified Trevor Lawrence to be the number one pick this coming year because Justin Fields did not play as well as Trevor Lawrence in that game. But if Justin Fields outplays, outduels Trevor Lawrence in the Rose Bowl and then goes to the national title game and knocks off the Alabama Crimson Tide, I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying he's going number one, but you will see whoever drafts at one arguing who should they pick at number one. And I will tell you that right now. I'm telling you right now. If he goes and knocks off two of the best teams in the country, they've been the two best teams in the country for the last 4 years, and he knocks off both of them, you're going to be talking about it. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but you will be talking and arguing your points about it.
With that being said, that's why the Jets should draft Justin Fields at number 2 if they don't get the first overall pick. Justin Fields has proved he can be a talented quarterback in the NFL. With that being said, the Jets ruined Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold needs a clear house. He needs to be in a different environment. It's not with the Jets. Again, I said that Sam Darnold can be a top 15, maybe potential to be a top 10 quarterback with the pieces around him. It's not with the Jets, though. They don't have that with him, and Sam Darnold can't be in a rebuild with that, running his third offense in 4 years. That's why the Jets need to just keep doing whatever it takes. Get Justin Fields number 2. We don't know. We don't know how these guys are going to turn out in the NFL. Maybe he is better than Trevor Lawrence later in his career. The Jets have to do it. They need to clear this out. You see what Joe Douglas could do with the cap space. Give Justin Fields a better situation than Sam Darnold has right now. The best route for the Jets is to go with Justin Fields if they can't get back the number 1 pick. But that's going to wrap up NFL today. Declan, thanks for joining. But I want to talk into a very heated debate going on the NFL. I mean, in the NBA, excuse me. The better player right now, Anthony Davis or Giannis Antentokoumpo? I've been a big believer Anthony Davis is a better player than Giannis. Earl, what are your thoughts?
Anthony Davis. And we can argue this all day. I know a lot of Giannis fans, the Greek freak. What I love about Giannis is he didn't want to leave Milwaukee. He didn't have to go to a super team to win a championship. He wants to live it. He wants to live it and win it over there in Milwaukee, the team that gave him a chance when they drafted him in the middle of the draft. So I love that about Giannis. And he took that big contract. He's going to ride with it for the next 5 years. I don't know if they'll ever win a title because Giannis has proven to me that if he doesn't solidify himself and figure out how to shoot a jump shot and shoot anywhere between a 17 and 18-foot jumper, teams are going to close him out and press coverage him all game long in the playoffs, which every team defenses play differently in the playoffs. Giannis cannot play in the playoffs. He's proven not to play well in the playoffs. Anthony Davis, their numbers are very similar in the regular season. Anthony Davis has proven that he can play and win in the playoffs. Yes, he's playing with LeBron James, and I don't know if Anthony Davis could do it by himself. But what we've seen so far, even with the Pelicans, is when they make the playoffs, Anthony Davis does not disappoint. He averages about 25, 26 points a game with the Pelicans. Then now with the LA Lakers, he's averaging between 27 and 28. That's a point and a half more playing with LeBron James. So it shows you that he could still win and still play at the top of his game with a top player. There's no argument on who's a better player because Anthony Davis has done it equally as long as Giannis. But also, he's won a title. Giannis has not. And the only thing you can argue with Giannis is Giannis never jumped ship to go and play with one of the top players in the league or the top player in the league. That's the only argument you have. Anthony Davis is the better all-around player. He can shoot outside 16, 17, 18-foot jumpers and the three-pointer. I think he shoots 36% at the three-point line. I mean, there's nothing to argue about Anthony Davis. He can rebound, he can block, he can do everything Giannis does and more. So I'm going with, like you, Anthony Davis.
I'm a big believer that Anthony Davis is absolutely a better player. I use one analogy in particular. I say when you're in school or if you're a college student, you have your test average and you have your homework average. They're obviously not weighed the same. Your homework average may be 20, 30% of your grade. The test, on the other hand, would be 70% to 80% of your grade. At the end of the day, both of them matter, But the test is what's going to get you that A in the class, or what's really going to get you to be a phenomenal student. And like I said, ace the class. But you need the homework to do that. What do I mean by that in basketball-wise? I look at the regular season as your homework average. The regular season is important. You need to be good. You need to be dominant to make your name. In the words of Kenny Smith, you make your name in the regular season, you make your fame in the postseason. Giannis Antentokoumpo in the last 2 years has been the best player in the NBA in terms of the regular season. He becomes more of a liability than an asset. Yes, I said it. In second halves, especially crucial times in the fourth quarter. We've seen it against Nick Nurse and the Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. Once they found out how to defend Kawhi in college basketball, they call it the pack line. In reality, they build the wall. They do not let Giannis drive, and once he can't do that, he's a liability. Why? His jump shot is more broke than shattered glass. We know he can't effectively shoot a mid-range. He can't really stretch out to three-point range. And given he's 6'11", 260, he still cannot play in the post. With that being said, he's not even the best half-court player on his own team. As much as a slander that sounds like, in reality, it's not. Against the Miami Heat, people all year long were saying that the Bucks were going to win the title this year, which was absolutely ridiculous. They told me the Bucks were the best team in the NBA. I said, I made a segment on my platform before the playoffs started in the bubble, and I couldn't have been more right, and it's still up on YouTube if you want to check it out. I said, my concern with the Bucks is I hate Budenholzer as a coach. I think he's a terrible coach because he doesn't know how to make game-to-game adjustments or in-game adjustments. As a coach, those are things you need to do. Number two, Giannis cannot close out games. We saw it against the Raptors before. We saw it this year against the Heat. They don't have a true Robin. Chris Middleton is not a Robin. The thing why they had to pay Chris Middleton that max deal is simply because a small market team like Milwaukee will never be able to draw on any sort of free agents. And Chris Middleton, who's a borderline all-star and only made it because he was in the weaker Eastern Conference, they ended up having to give him that 5-year max deal, which ultimately is not helping their team. But now let's go down memory lane for the people who forget that there were the NBA playoffs last summer. Giannis in game one, the Bucks were up 96-95 with 6 minutes left in that game. A back-to-back MVP needs to close that game because we held plenty of MVPs to that standard. We held LeBron James to the standard. We held Kevin Durant, a Steph Curry, a Kawhi Leonard, even though he doesn't have any MVPs under his resume. In that game, up 96-95 with 6 minutes left, Giannis goes 0-for-1 from the field with 1 point. This is your back-to-back MVP who failed to close. Why? Because he can't shoot, has no postgame. What about game two? Okay, time to even the series. Maybe it was a fluke performance. All right, this is your time to get back in the series. In that fourth quarter, the Bucks have a 4 to 5 minute stretch where they do not score a single point. This is under the back-to-back MVP's watch. You're down 2-0. Game three, pretty much your last hurrah to turn the series around, right? Entering the fourth quarter, it really looked like the Bucks had this game wrapped up. 87-75, a 12-point lead. What happens? The Bucks get outscored 40-13 in the fourth quarter under the back-to-back MVP's watch. Giannis had 4 fourth-quarter points and a box score plus-minus of that game of -25. He's become more of a liability than an asset late in games. If you can't close out games, I cannot put you in a class but with certain players in this league. And now let's flip to the script on Anthony Davis. People don't look at Anthony Davis as great as Giannis because, again, he doesn't have the MVPs. And people think that the Pelicans sucked. And, again, they played in the Smoothie King Center. When you play in the Smoothie King Center, you're not going to get the recognition as other guys are playing in L.A., a New York, a South Beach, Boston, etc. But what did we see the first time he was with a title contending team, even though with the Pelicans he's proven he can bowl out in the playoffs? Anthony Davis gave you over 27 a game in the Western Conference playoffs alone, and he is the best half-court big man in the NBA and the best big man in the NBA. What do I mean by that? When the Lakers, when LeBron dumps the ball off to AD in the high post and he goes one-on-one, he's an automatic bucket. There's no way to guard him. He has a mid-range. He has a step-back mid-range. He has great footwork. He has a post fadeaway. He could put the ball on the floor, get to the rim, and finish, and get fouled and go to the free throw line where he's shooting 84%. He can stretch it out to three-point range. He's proven he could be big in the clutch, and he's hit big-time shots. A lot of people are trying to use the LeBron argument that he was only successful because he was playing with LeBron. Sure, that is true to an extent. A moment that you could point to right away in the Western Conference Finals, Game 2, where they were up 1-0 in that series. That's a crucial time. People are trying to say, oh, the Lakers are going to win anyways. In reality, that's a crucial time. AD scores the last 10 points for the Lakers, and it's a game-winning buzzer beater 3, down 1. He has proven he could close. When I'm ranking players, the top players in the game right now, if you can't close, I can't put you above guys who can close. These are guys I have above Giannis Antentokoumpo entering the season. Of course, LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, a Steph Curry, a Kawhi Leonard, and an Anthony Davis. I really have Giannis the 6th best player in the NBA. People are trying to say I'm hating. I'm not. Everything I say is facts. There is nothing I made up there. Anthony Davis is absolutely a better player than Giannis Antentokoumpo. The floor is yours.
I will agree with you. There's no argument to what anything that you said. You gave numbers, statistics, analytics to understand why you think Anthony Davis is a better player than Giannis. Again, I also look at Giannis. He decided to stay over there and not to play with another superstar. I give him a lot of credit for that. And that to me will show me when he does somehow talk another superstar to come and play with him, what he can do with another superstar. Maybe it'll open up the court a little bit better where teams are not going to be able to double or triple team him, where he's going to have to be forced to shoot, where he can get into the paint and dominate like he does in the regular season. All depends on what type of superstar you're going to bring in. They need a guy that can open up the court, spread the offense, spread the 3-point shots. They need a point guard that's going to open up the floor for them. If they could find a guy or a big man that can open up the floor, aka LeBron James, that could do that kind of stuff. There's not many guys like LeBron James. But maybe, think about it this way. I think Ben Simmons, he really hasn't hit his strength, his ability where everybody thought he was going to be a great offensive player. But he is a great ball handler. He's a great guy. I'm sorry?
100%. Ben Simmons.
I think he's a great ball handler. I think he's a guy that can control the top of the perimeter, spread out the offenses. I really think that Milwaukee should look at possibly with the 76ers. You couldn't win over there. Adding Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers isn't going to make the 76ers better. He's not. He's not going to make the 76ers. He's going to make them worse, just like he made the Clippers worse. Just like the only reason why the Boston Celtics won is because he had Tom Thibodeau as his defensive guy, and he had Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen in the primes of their careers. Right. So that's the only reason why they won. And they only won one title. To say whatever you want about Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is a loser. He's been a loser. He was a loser with the Knicks. He's a loser. So I don't like Doc Rivers. So I think if Giannis got a player that can play at the point, that can move the ball on the perimeter and control the perimeter, you don't have to worry about Eric Bledsoe or somebody. Now they have who they have? I'm sorry.
Drew Holiday.
They just trade for?
Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday. Now I love Drew Holiday. I think Drew Holiday is going to change a lot for Giannis. You might see Giannis a better player in the playoffs because Drew Holiday is going to open up the courts as far as 3-point shots. It will spread out the offense where if Drew Holiday is hot, he's going to drive to the hole, which will open up in the paint Giannis for those pick and rolls and stuff like that. Drew Holiday's better than Eric Bledsoe. He is. He's faster. He could
Drew
shoot.
Holiday's not the answer to get them to win the title or get
No. But he can help Giannis, where Giannis can get over the hump and get into the NBA championship. I know you like the Nets. I know you have the Nets going all the way to the NBA championship.
Tomorrow. That's one of my first segments tomorrow. That's it. That's my big topics, that the Nets are a lock. But to get into the Bucks surrounding pieces, let's talk about his max deal to wrap up the show for the last 5 minutes. I guess it's the cool thing to do, to respect it, that, Giannis is staying home. He doesn't need to team hop. He doesn't like working out with other players. He's trying to do it in Milwaukee. This is his city. He wants to build his legacy that way. Sure, it's cool. People are going to praise him for it right now, take the money and help his grandkids and those grandkids, all them being financially stable. His legacy is never going to improve. He's never going to win a title. And those same people who are praising him right now are going to be the ones crucifying him in 5 years when the Bucks still have never won a title. That's the problem. They don't have a championship roster right now. They don't. Chris Middleton, like I already addressed, is not a Robin. He's overpaid. He is not a max contract guy at all, especially when we've seen him shrink in the playoffs, besides that one Game 4 moment he had this past year against the Miami Heat. He's not a max deal guy, and he's not a true Robin. He hasn't shown a guy who could really close. Giannis is still is Shaq looking for his Kobe, in the words of Max Kellerman. He needs a guard who could really close out games and make him better. I still don't think Giannis will ever be able to close because his jump shot is more broke than shattered glass, and you still can't stick him in the post. If you could put Giannis in the post, that would open up a lot for that Bucks team. If Giannis could go in the post, no one could guard that guy one-on-one. He's a freak of nature, 6'11", 260. He's a physical specimen. As much as we like to say he could get to the rim at will better than anyone in the game right now. When the game slows down, Giannis can't do anything because teams build in the quote-unquote of the college basketball world, the pack line. Once that happens, Giannis is a complete liability. If you put him in the post and you're able to feed him there, one-on-one he would be an automatic bucket if he had some post moves. That's why I put some blame on Mike Budenholzer not developing Giannis with a post game. Even getting doubled. Giannis has proven to be a good passer. Not a great passer, but a good passer. Once one guy is doubled, once he's doubled in the post, obviously that means one guy's got to be open. And the Bucks are loaded with three-point shooting. I think that would be probably in his best interest to develop a post game, more so than try to keep saying, oh, Giannis got to shoot, Giannis got to shoot. Would that be an extreme luxury? 100%. But there are just some guys who can't shoot and don't have touch. Giannis does not have touch. His jump shot looks disgusting. It's ugly to even watch. Even when it goes in, it doesn't look like it should go in. I think his hands are too big for the ball. His elbow sticks out weird. His rhythm is very slow. His shot release is slow. Something about it is off. I just don't think he'll ever have a jump shot. Same thing with Ben Simmons. People are trying to say that Ben Simmons, oh, well, when he gets a jump shot, when is he going to do it? I mean, I'll take a nap. Please let me know when he's going to get a jump shot. I don't think he ever will. That's the same thing with Giannis. A guy that big who is a power forward needs to play in the post. That would be the only way I could see him being more successful. He very likely may win his third MVP and be in a very special class in history to be the only player next to Larry Bird, for the only player in NBA history to win 3 consecutive MVP awards. What is that going to mean in the postseason? They'll probably just get bounced in the second round again. Their ceiling is at best the Eastern Conference Finals, which I'm not picking the Bucks to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they are a second round exit this year. They have a lot of problems, and honestly, and it's not the Bucks aren't winning because Giannis's team is not good enough. They are not because of him. It's not slander. It's just the truth.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. I still think Milwaukee can get to the Eastern Conference Championship, and I still think they can win the Eastern Conference. They have a lot of work to do. Chris Middleton, having him, you can use him as trade bait, maybe to bring in a James Harden. Will James Harden help out Giannis? Yes, I think he will. Even though James Harden has proven not to play well in the playoffs, I think you put him with another superstar, another big man. That's something that James Harden has never played with, as talented of a big man, except obviously Kevin Durant in OKC. That was the last big man that he played against, which is as talented as Giannis Antentokoumpo, whatever his name is, the Greek freak. I can never pronounce his last name, by the way. But I think that in the big picture of where Milwaukee is, I will say this. I will still bet that Miami will be as dangerous as they were in this past playoff run. I think Miami will make a trade. I think Miami will add another superstar to play with Butler one way or another. If it's not this year, it'll be next year. I think in the middle of the season, when the trade deadline comes, there'll be names coming out, and I could see Miami and Pat Riley making a bang, especially with the draft stock that he has and the players and the young players that he has. He can add a player to play with Butler. They could be a dangerous team. I don't bet on the Nets because I don't bet on Kyrie. I don't bet on him. I don't like his attitude. I don't like what he says. I don't like how he talks to the press. I don't like how he's been a coach killer. I don't like anything about Kyrie, and I'm a Duke fan, and I loved Kyrie when he came out of the draft. And he's a New Jersey native. He's a big mouth, show off, dribble the ball, Uncle Drew type of player who thinks that he's better than everybody else. And if he continues doing that, Kevin Durant's going to figure that out, and Kevin Durant's going to want him out of there after the first year.
All I heard in that is a lot of BS. But if you want to tune in tomorrow, a little cliffhanger for you, we will be talking about with the NBA season starting tomorrow night, and the Nets make their season debut against Kevin Durant's former team, the Golden State Warriors. Are the Nets a lock, and will they sleepwalk to the NBA Finals? Find out tomorrow if you want to tune in for that. Again, Arl, thanks for joining me. Thanks for having me host a segment on your platform. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at The Falco Takeaway. Earl, again, thanks for joining me. Thanks for letting me host your show.
Bye, guys. Great show. Brendan, great show. I love what you're gonna. And trust me, Brendan's he's gonna be a star. You keep up the good work. You're gonna get some good guests on your show. Keep the content up. I love what you're doing. I love what you're putting out there.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.